Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today, so let's start off talking about Impact Wrestling and starting to talk about former WWE Superstar and former Cruiserweight Champion Tony Nese possibly coming into Impact Wrestling because the former WWE Superstar and Cruiserweight Champion has said he would fit perfectly into Impact Wrestling should he sign there in the future. Now, Tony Nese was released by WWE in the latest round of budget cuts last month on June 25th. Now, Nese has been with the company, or had been with the company, since 2016 and spent most of his time primarily wrestling on 205 Live as part of the Cruiserweight division. Where the premier athlete will end up next remains to be seen, but Nese has told the Wrestling Perspective podcast that he thinks he would be a perfect fit in Impact Wrestling. He also named multiple AEW talents he would like to face in the future. He said, quote, "I feel like I'd fit in Impact perfectly. I feel like there's a lot of places I'd fit perfectly. My options are out there, and I have a lot of discussions to make. I'm not saying anything. Right now, my goal is to wrestle the people I haven't had a chance to wrestle. I have to brush up on my independent wrestling. I have a lot of friends in AEW, like Alex Reynolds and John Silver. Me and Alex have wrestled like 110, 120 times. I'd love to add a couple more to that. Kenny Omega, I wrestled him on an independent show. It was a small show, and he was on a long tour and just like, let me get through this without getting hurt. Matt Sydal, I've never worked with him. I would love to mix it up with him. I wouldn't mind smacking MJF around. Beyond possibly heading to, of course, a major promotion, Nese said he has, quote, a lot of independent wrestling bookings in the works, so it would appear that the former Cruiserweight Champion will be a busy man once his 90-day non-compete clause expires later this year. Now, Tony Nese is quickly going into that category, in my opinion, of those guys or people, guys and girls, that have been released by WWE, and he's falling into that category where I would say I would be very, very, very surprised if he doesn't end up in Impact Wrestling by the end of this year. Of course, he does have history in Impact Wrestling, competed in the company for a brief period in 2011, 2012, that period of time when they were putting a bit of a renewed focus on the X Division at the time, bringing guys in, and Tony Nese was a part of that. Where I'm thinking of the days of, Jesse Sorensen, Zema Ion, that kind of period of time. Tony Nese was involved during that period of time, so and I don't just mean he would be a great fit for Impact Wrestling in the X Division because he's a former Cruiserweight Champion. Because again, I know people will look at it like that. I know people will look at it and say, well, the guy's a former Cruiserweight Champion, so that means he fits perfect in the X Division. And every time people say that, my head just wants to explode because it doesn't work like that. It shouldn't work like that. The X Division is not the Cruiserweight division. That has been one of the biggest problems with the X Division for the last few years, and it's why it's got to the point where this year Impact Wrestling had to say, you know what, enough's enough. We're going to just rebuild this X Division, and that's why it's in a really good position that it is today, because they decided it's not a Cruiserweight division. And we hear these horror stories that we have Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan and respective people when they're booking the territory of Impact Wrestling. They thought, hey, it's just a Cruiserweight division. They put a weight limit on it. They did this, they did that. It's not. It's about a great comparison is the Ring of Honor Pure Championship. It's just about having the best match on the card. Yes, it's got a lot of styles that you would compare to being as like a Cruiserweight division in terms of high flying, maybe smaller guys, a little bit of lucha libre in there, and people would go, oh, that's Cruiserweight wrestling. It's not. The X Division is all about having the best match on the show. The tagline was, it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. It's about a hybrid of styles. I saw an interview with Chris Sabin, who I think said it best. He said it was this melting pot of different styles from around the world. Yes, you had high-flying cruiserweight action. Yes, you had Mexican lucha libre style. But in there, you also had English, British catch wrestling or chain wrestling or MMA style or Japanese strong style or whatever style you could think of. Everything was thrown in there. It's shaken up, and that's the X Division. It's about having great matches. So I think if Tony Nese came in, I think he would be part of the X Division because that's where he competed in Impact Wrestling previously. But he would fit perfectly in there. He's not wrong. He would fit in there absolutely fantastically. I could see him having great matches against the likes of Josh Alexander, of course, the X Division champion, or Chris Bay, or Ace Austin, or the list goes on and on of great names. TJP. I mean, he probably faced TJP a ton of times when he was in WWE in the Cruiserweight division on 205 Live anyway. So I think Tony Nese would be an excellent addition. And to be honest, again, I see it as the most likely destination at this point. He's up there with the likes of Laurel Van Ness, Chelsea Green of if you said, all right, Owen, which names do you think are pretty much nailed on? They will compete in Impact Wrestling by the end of this year. Which names? And obviously you can guess a load of names, but if you wanted to really have the odds in your favor, you would say Chelsea Green. And I've said this time and time again, I would be stunned if Chelsea Green doesn't return to Impact Wrestling at some point this year. The reason I would be stunned is because the moment she was released, you had Scott D'Amore reaching out on social media going, I remember when she was doing causing mayhem in Impact Wrestling. I remember when she was the hot mess Laurel Van Ness. I remember when she was a former Knockouts champion. We subsequently seen the reports of, I think it was Fightful reported it, that Chelsea Green and Impact Wrestling already have had discussions. And Impact Wrestling last year, when they reached out to the Good Brothers, they reached out to the Good Brothers within 15 minutes of the Good Brothers being released by WWE last year. So there is no doubt in my mind that once they got the news, Laurel Van Ness has been released by WWE. 15 minutes later, boop, boop, boop. Well, they probably rung Zack Ryder, went, can we speak to Chelsea Green? He was like, do you want to speak to Impact? She probably went, yes. And they've already started talking. So I would be stunned if Chelsea Green doesn't show up. And it would be the same with Tony Nese, because the exact same thing happened this time around. When Tony Nese was released by WWE, one of the first people to speak about it on social media from Impact Wrestling was Tommy Dreamer. And Tommy Dreamer basically said, look, 90 days, give me a call. Give me a call. We'll talk, because you've got a perfect place. You've got a place waiting for you here in Impact Wrestling, because they want him. Tommy Dreamer is a very influential figure behind the scenes in Impact Wrestling. Not the whole Anthem representative, that's the on-camera stuff, but behind the scenes, he's on the creative team. He's a senior producer there. He's got a lot of clout in Impact Wrestling. And if Tommy Dreamer was reaching out in the same way that he did with Steve Cutler came with Deonna Purrazzo to a TV tapings, wasn't looking for a job or anything like that, but he was sitting backstage. After speaking to Tommy Dreamer for a couple of hours or so, next thing you know, Steve Macklin's on the fast track to getting a contract with Impact Wrestling. So that just shows Tommy Dreamer's influence in that company right now. So if Tommy Dreamer's reaching out to Tony Nese publicly saying, Tony, 90 days, give us a call, you've got a spot waiting for you, says to me that he'll come in. He'll come in, there's no doubt about it. And I guess, I don't know if officially Impact Wrestling can actually talk to Tony Nese right now, because technically, even though he was released from his contract, he's still technically, I guess, under contract to WWE right now. That's what those 90-day non-compete clauses are. It's basically a case of, we're releasing you from your contract, but you still get paid for these 90 days by us, and it's by the note. It's contractual, nonsense. But at the end of the day, I don't know if Impact can legally speak to Tony Nese, but obviously, off the record, unofficially, there's no way they haven't. There is no way that they haven't. There's no way they haven't got a phone call from, again, Tommy Dreamer, Scott D'Amore, whoever, saying, do you want to come back to Impact? Because there's a spot waiting for you. So the fact that Tony Nese is coming out now saying, I would fit there perfectly and I could have all of these great matches, says to me that nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed in the world of pro wrestling. We know that at this point, but I would suggest it's highly likely he comes into Impact Wrestling. And look, yes, he can compete in the X Division, but who knows where else he could compete? Rich Swann's a former Impact World Champion. He's a former Cruiserweight Champion in WWE, former X Division Champion in Impact Wrestling. I don't think anyone thought that Rich Swann could be an Impact World Champion. Certainly not at this point last year. He hadn't even returned to Impact after his injury at Slammiversary. And by the end of the year, he was the Impact World Champion. So who knows? There are opportunities there in Impact Wrestling. There absolutely are opportunities in Impact. So whilst Tony Nese would fit there perfectly, who's to say that he would be in the X Division? I think he would. But why couldn't he be the Impact World Champion? Anything's possible. Anything's possible, especially when you come out of WWE. You've got a chip on your shoulder. If you get momentum, if you get over, which is more likely now with a live crowd being there. I think in this pandemic era of pro wrestling, it's been difficult to judge truly who's popular, truly who's over with a live audience, because there hasn't been one. You can check social media, you can check merchandise, but nothing beats that roar from the crowd, that reaction from the crowd, that atmosphere that a talent can generate by just walking into an arena. And I'm not saying Tony Nese will be able to do that for Impact Wrestling, but my point is that if he shows up in Impact and the crowd get behind him, who knows where his ceiling is? Who knows? And that's an exciting thing, because he knew exactly where his ceiling was in WWE. It was appearing every week on 205 Live, maybe on NXT, but that was it. He wasn't going anywhere else. So there's a whole other avenue to explore now with him. And like you said, maybe he will appear in Impact. Maybe he will appear in some other companies. I think he did mention, again, some AEW names. I wouldn't recommend he go there. I feel like he would be, lost in the shuffle, to be honest. Again, that's no disrespect to him. It's a big roster with a lot of really strong talent on there. And AEW, to be honest, are probably going to have to cut a few people that they'll be using for the Dark and Dark Elevation tapings because of going on the road. So I wouldn't recommend. I would say Impact Wrestling is probably the place for him. But also there's other smaller promotions like Ring of Honor. You could see him working in ROH, MLW, NWA. They would be the right size for him. But again, given the fact that Impact have publicly courted him already, says to me they know exactly what they want. And I think Tony Nese does as well. Now, speaking of Tommy Dreamer as well, Matt Cardona has expressed his desire to retire Tommy Dreamer in Impact Wrestling. Matt Cardona recently expressed his desire to retire ECW legend Tommy Dreamer in a hardcore wrestling match. Now, in a recent interview with Steel Chair magazine, Cardona discussed his dream opponents in Impact. Cardona pointed out Dreamer, referencing the aforementioned bout in ECW, where, of course, he did actually retire Tommy Dreamer from WWE ECW at the time, and he wants to do the same in Impact Wrestling. He said, there are so many guys like Tommy Dreamer who's still around. I thought I retired him over 10 years ago in December 2009 in WWE, but he's still kicking. If I need to retire him for good, one last hardcore match, I would love to do that. Eddie Edwards, I've teamed with, but I've never wrestled him. I love his style. I love what he's done with himself over the past couple of years. More violent style, and again. So certainly interesting. I don't see Tommy Dreamer retiring in terms of in-ring action. I think Tommy Dreamer is going to be like a Terry Funk, and that's maybe a strange comparison. And I'm not just making it for the ECW thing, but I mean in the sense that I could see Tommy Dreamer wrestling till he's like 60 or something ridiculous like that, because for a guy that's taken so much abuse and so much just chair shots and table bumps and all these crazy stuff, and not necessarily taking the best care of himself. He's never been a body guy or anything like that, Tommy Dreamer. The fact that he still wrestles today and he's still relatively active and still does these crazy street fights, hardcore matches, unsanctioned matches is, I suppose, admirable to a point. But eventually a day will come when he has to retire. When that is, I don't know. Will that be an Impact? I don't know. I think it depends. It depends on his position in the company at the time. If Tommy Dreamer retired, I would probably see him doing it in his own show, like a House of Hardcore show. I know that's kind of been a little bit on hiatus with the pandemic. I know he's got the podcast and all that, but I could see him wanting to do like his own thing in a retirement match. Maybe it would happen in Impact Wrestling. I don't know. It certainly would be a fun story. I've been saying for a while when it comes to Matt Cardona and Impact that we need something different, because for me, since he got released from WWE, there was a lot of excitement and anticipation that finally Zack Ryder could maybe fill up or live up to his potential, fulfill his potential that he once had in WWE in the 2011, during that period of time when he was US champion. He was super popular because of the YouTube stuff and all that, and WWE just mishandled him to death with the whole Kane stuff and the whole Eve Torres thing. There was finally a feeling of, okay, he's released from WWE. We can see what this guy truly is capable. Can he finally reach that potential and get to that popularity that he once had? And for me, that's nearly 18 months ago now. It's a while ago, certainly, over a year. And at this point, I look at Matt Cardona and I just say, well, he's still Zack Ryder. There's not a lot different. He changed his name. Nothing else is really changed. He was in AEW for a cup of coffee. I didn't think there was anything super exciting about anything like that. And you look at him now and you go, he's still just Zack Ryder. And that was fine if it was 2011, but it's not. It's 2021. That was 10 years ago. Where's the evolution? Where's the change? Where is anything different? Where is anything compelling of, right, I get it. He's trying to evolve. He's trying to do something different. I haven't seen that. So I was so happy to see him at the GCW shows, to see him involved in this Nick Gage storyline and have the match against him and all that kind of stuff, because that's different. That's an evolution. That's something different from Matt Cardona, and that's exactly what he needs. And if he can parlay that over to Impact Wrestling, if he can transfer that over to Impact Wrestling, whether it's a heel turn, whether it's Chelsea Green coming in and then being an on-screen couple as well as an off-screen couple and trying to take over Impact, being a heel couple, all that kind of stuff, something different, I think, needs to happen when it comes to Matt Cardona, because he's still just being Zack Ryder. And maybe that's because that's who he is, but we've seen it. We've seen it, and I think if he wants to really, truly achieve big things in Impact Wrestling, whether that's become the Impact World Champion or have great matches or anything like that, he needs to evolve. And I think we've yet to see that. We've yet to see that in Impact Wrestling from Matt Cardona so far. I think eventually we will, and I hope we will. Maybe it does take Laurel Van Ness to come in, Chelsea Green. I'm not sure. But I think the fact that he's doing this different stuff with GCW right now is positive. I do think that's very positive. And hopefully, again, it does transfer over to Impact and he can change up his character, do something a bit different. And because the guy absolutely physically looks fantastic and he can work matches and there's no doubt he can be at the top of the card, you just need something different. You just need something a little bit different right now. Deonna Purrazzo, the Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion, worked a AAA event over the course of the last weekend. The AAA Verano de Escalado, my pronunciation, I don't speak Spanish, my pronunciation is awful, took place over the weekend in Quintaro, Mexico. In the main event, Rey Escorpion, Taurus, and Texano Jr. retained the AAA World Trios Championship. But Deonna Purrazzo from Impact Wrestling, she was involved in the event as well. Impact Wrestling Knockouts Champion was also in action. She defeated Lady Shani with a Fujiwara armbar. But post-match, Purrazzo's Triple Mania opponent, AAA Reina Darina's champion, Fabi Apache, attacked the Knockouts champion. Of course, the two will meet on August 14 in a title versus title match at Triple Mania, which is exciting. So Deonna Purrazzo, I think she's leaving that with both bouts because I don't see a situation where a AAA talent is leaving with a Knockouts Championship. I just don't think Impact would do it. I think AAA, frankly, are looking at this situation and going, actually, Deonna Purrazzo is one of the best female wrestlers in the world right now. In the world, no doubt about it. She is up there. She is in that conversation. If you're talking again about the best female performers in the world today, Deonna Purrazzo is part of that conversation. And guess what, Triple H? She doesn't want to go to WWE. You released her. You had your chance. You blew it. So I think AAA realizes that and they go, look, we've had some success of having Kenny Omega as the AAA Mega Champion. He hasn't been doing a ton of AAA appearances. But I think they realize when it comes to Deonna Purrazzo, why not put the belt on her? Why not? Again, she's one of the best female performers in the world. The Knockouts division is one of the best women's divisions in the world. It's a cornerstone. It's a pillar of Impact Wrestling. To me, it makes total sense that Deonna Purrazzo would win. Now, of course, and I'm not totally familiar with the AAA booking, so you can let me know in the comment section below, there might be a screwy finish. I mean, who knows? You know, these things happen in title versus title matches historically. I know, for instance, when Impact had the title versus title match earlier this year with Kenny Omega and Rich Swann, there were a lot of people on the channel that were telling me there's no way it's going to end in a clean finish. It's going to be a double disqualification. It's going to be a no contest. No one's going to win both bouts. They're going to screw the fans over. And at the time I said, no. Trust me. The plan is to have Kenny Omega win the World Championship. That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you that's what's going to happen. No. It's going to be a no contest. It's going to be a double count out, double disqualification. Something's going to happen. John Moxley's going to get involved. Someone will get involved. Moose will get involved. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. I mean, that could happen in this sense because, again, I don't know. I don't know the AAA booking style or booking philosophy. I don't know. My only thing with that is that you could maybe get away with that in like the 70s and 80s. That whole title versus title concept, if you don't deliver, nowadays when it comes to fans, you can talk about, I don't know, modern day mentality, millennials, all that kind of stuff. But if you don't deliver what you advertise, people really don't get happy. They never have, but they really don't like that today. People hate that sense of injustice, hate that sense of being screwed. And if you advertise a title versus title match and you don't deliver on someone walking out with both championships, people get very, very angry. Very angry. So I don't see that happening. I see just AAA looking at it going, why wouldn't we want to put the title on Deonna Purrazzo? She's one of the best female wrestlers in the world today. So I think Deonna Purrazzo leaves with both bouts at Triple Mania. But that's in August. We can talk about that closer to the time. Finally, Sami Callahan has taken a shot at Moose. Now, Moose posted a tweet on social media. He posts a lot of tweets about working out. Obviously, he's in amazing shape. He's in the shape of his life right now. Just re-signed of Impact Wrestling. He posted a tweet to Moose saying, quote, I skull crush more than 75% of the roster bench. ... Pathetic. Now, Sami Callahan responded to this saying, quote, still hasn't won your world championship. Don't worry, I won't choke against Kenny Omega. Hashtag two-time world champ. Taking some shots at Moose there. He's not wrong. Moose hasn't won the world championship. And Sami Callahan, of course, is scheduled to face Kenny Omega for the Impact World Championship at Slammiversary. Again, and we're going to talk about this a lot over the course of the next couple of weeks or so because it's Slammiversary next week. It's nearly here, 10 days' time. It's Slammiversary. Again, 11 days' time, rather, it's Slammiversary. I don't see Sami Callahan winning next week, but time will only tell. Time will only tell when it comes to that. But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these Impact Wrestling news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about Impact Wrestling, AEW, WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.